Multiple choice 1, which of the following is the atomic number of a metal? So when you use the periodic table, you can identify each of the elements from the atomic numbers given, and we can see that the elements below the dark lines are metals, and multiple choice answer C, element 45, is rhodium, which is a transition metal. Multiple choice 2, an atom is neutral because it has the same number or equal numbers of protons and electrons. This means that the positive and negative charges cancel each other out, making them have an overall charge of 0. So the correct answer to this is multiple choice answer B. Multiple choice 3 asks when liquid water changes to steam, and this is us looking at states of matter going from liquid to gas. Now when we think about water, the formula is always H2O, which means that the bonds within the molecule, the ones that are the covalent bonds that hold the atoms together, are not broken. So therefore it's only the weak intermolecular forces, that's the bonds between the molecules, which must be broken. They get further apart. Multiple choice 4. Which line in the table shows how the concentration of a solution changes when more solute or solvent is added? So if we look at the triangle and rearrange this for concentration, concentration is the number of moles or the number of particles over a given volume. If I was to make this up and say that I had 2 moles of a substance in 500 centimetres cubed, which would be 0.5 litres. When I calculate that out, that would give me a concentration of 4 moles per litre. Now, if I was to add more solute, that's adding more particles, so adding more N. So let's say we change that to 4. If I was to put that into my calculation, I would have 4 divided by 0.5, which would give me 8 moles per litre, which means that the concentration would increase. So that means the only potential answers at the moment could be C or D. However, if I was to take my 4 moles and increase the volume of my liquid to 1 litre, that would mean I'd have 4 divided by 1, which means that the concentration would be 4 moles per litre, which means the concentration would decrease by adding more solvent. So the correct answer to this is multiple choice answer C. Multiple choice 5, which of the following structures would be described as angular? This is making sure that you know all 4 of your molecular shapes. That's your tetrahedral, trigonal, pyramidal, angular and linear, and the only one which is in the angular shape is B for sulfur dioxide. Multiple choice 6 is a problem solving question. Electronegativity is a measure of the attraction of a nucleus has for the shared pair of electrons in a covalent bond. When 2 nuclei that have different electronegativity values are bonded together, the bond formed is described as polar covalent. The bigger the difference in the electronegativity values, the more polar the bond. The table contains the electronegativity values for some atoms, and the question asks you which of the following bonds would be the most polar. So to do this, if you take each element 1 and put the electronegativity value, element 2, put the electronegativity value, and then take the difference between them. The one with the largest difference is going to be the most polar, so the correct answer to this is multiple choice answer A. Multiple choice 7, which line in the table shows what would be observed during the electrolysis of copper chloride using a DC supply? So electrolysis is the breakdown of ionic compounds back into their elements. So firstly, we need to know the charge of each of our ions. Copper is a metal which will always lose electrons to form positive ions. What is our positive ions attracted to? Opposites attract, so that would be attracted to the negative electrode. We know that copper atoms are solid in that state, so the only answer at the moment could be potentially multiple choice answer A or D. Chloride is a negative ion that would be attracted to the positive electrode, but chloride ions, well, chlorine exists as a diatomic element in the gas form, so the correct answer to this must be multiple choice A, where the chlorine gas is formed at the positive electrode and that the copper atoms are formed at the negative electrode. So, how do we name a salt that's produced in a neutralisation reaction? The first part of the name comes from the metal which is in the base name. Metals always lose electrons to form positive ions. What we've got here is we have got an ionic lattice structure because salts are ionic substances. The positive ion comes from the metal part, and therefore the negative ion must come from the non-metal part. So the second part of the name comes from the non-metal in the acid name. Non-metals always gain electrons to form negative ions. Answers A and C cannot be correct because those are bases. Remember, bases, they're so great. Oxide, hydroxide and carbonate, which leaves B and D. B is an acid because it has a hydrogen ion, and D is our salt, which is made up from potassium hydroxide and ethanoic acid. Question 9. The pH of the solution formed when ammonia is bubbled into water is most likely to be. So what we need to know there is that ammonia is a pungent, clear, colourless gas which dissolves in water to produce an alkaline solution. Now, an alkaline solution is when you have a pH greater than 7. So the only answer that this could be would be multiple choice answer D with a pH of 9. Multiple choice 10 is a problem solving question. The apparatus shown can be used to identify the products of combustion. When gas X was burned, a colourless liquid collected and cooled in the test tube, but there was no change in the lime water. What could gas X be? So firstly, you need to know the products of complete combustion. If you have hydrogen and you completely burn it in oxygen, you'll produce water, which is our colourless liquid, which in the text has told us has been collected in the test tube. And if you produce carbon dioxide, which is complete combustion of carbon, the test for this is it turns lime water cloudy. As the lime water did not change, there must be no carbon atoms present in the gas. So when we look at all of our potential gas X's, we're looking for something that does not contain carbon. The only one that does not contain carbon is multiple choice answer C, and the combustion of this would only produce our water. Question 11. Which of the following compounds has the highest boiling point? You may wish to use the data booklet to help you. So using your data booklet on page 9, you want to look up the boiling points of each of these compounds. So we've got butane, but1-ene, butan-2-ol and butanoic acid. The one which has the highest boiling point is butanoic acid at 164 degrees Celsius. So the correct answer to this is multiple choice answer C. This past paper questions from the National 5, 2022, multiple choice 12. Which of the following molecules will decolorise bromine solution and also form an acidic solution when added to water? So what we're looking at is the functional groups. For it to be acidic, I'm looking for a carboxylic acid. So I'm looking for a carboxyl group. So that could be A or it could be D. The other factor it wants me to do is to look at decolorizing. We need to have a carbon-to-carbon double bond for an addition reaction to occur. So the correct answer to this is multiple choice answer D.